Before we begin this journey, let me make something absolutely clear. We are not here to debate police versus criminal killings. We are not here to argue sides, defend wrongdoing, or create division. We are here for one reason only: to honor the life of Andrew Lancelot Richards, who was an innocent young man, a wonderful son, a devoted father, a good partner, an honorable grandson, a selfless brother, a respectful nephew, a caring cousin, an encouraging friend, and a helpful and well-mannered community member. Simply put, Andrew was a good, hard-working young man whose life was stolen from us without due process, without justice. Our purpose is not to accuse every officer, nor to romanticize criminality. We stand firmly against violence in all its forms. This series exists to enlighten, to correct misunderstandings, to open eyes, to bring truth, to give a voice to those who can no longer speak, to guide Jamaica into deeper reflection and about the value of human life, the weight of innocent blood, and the kind of nation we are becoming. We are here to tell Andrew's story, to honor his memory, and to offer clarity to a country that desperately needs it.
Who was he? And why does his story matter so deeply to you and should to this country?
Thank you for asking. Because before we talk about extrajudicial killings, leadership, or justice, we have to talk about a person, a real human being, not a headline, not a statistic, not a label. Andrew Lancelot Richards. Andrew was my nephew, but more than that, he was first and foremost an innocent young man. He was a son, a father, a brother, a partner, a cousin, a community member, a dear friend, and he was also a remarkable first grandchild to my parents. Andrew was connected. He was not some wayward, idle, dysfunctional young man. He was sober-minded, fun-loving, grounded, and deeply loved. And to say we are still in shock over his brutal and unfortunate demise, that would be an understatement. Andrew came from a simple and modest family. And he loved us in that quiet, loyal way that never needed a microphone. He worked hard, building himself a little at a time. His ambition had boundaries. He was never greedy, never jealous of other people's progress or success. In fact, he would be the first to big up anyone doing well around him. He genuinely celebrated people's success. He had one of the liveliest and purest spirits you could ever encounter. That's Andrew for you. Andrew, unfortunately, never had the opportunity to truly experience a relationship with his biological father. It was a wound he carried, but he never allowed it to destroy him. Instead, he chose to break that cycle. He raised his son with intention. He showed up. He stayed involved. He loved his son deeply and consistently. When you hear a parent say, "I'm a pitney me alifa," that was Andrew. He had purpose and he had direction. Andrew was also a neat freak. Clean shoes, clean clothes always. You could find him sweeping the yard while busting a gospel tune at the top of his lungs. even though he wasn't the best singer. He loved the life. He loved football. He loved the youths. And he had a humor that made people feel at ease. When you look at Andrew, when you look at how Andrew lived, you could tell he would have been a wise old man if he had been given the chance. He gave sound advice. He made sound decisions, both on the job as a roof installer and to the youths in the community who valued his counsel. To me, Andrew was like a brother. He grew up under the same roof with us. Even though one of my sisters was his mother, Andrew was like a brother to us. Never an outsider. He was blood. He was family in the truest sense. My mother, his maternal grandmother, passed on less than a year before Andrew was murdered. So the grief doubled because Andrew was like a son to her. Now, some people may try to stain his name. They may repeat descriptions and labels. But to be honest, we feel no shame because they are not describing our Andrew. Unfortunately for us, it was our Andrew who bore the weight of their misinformation. But those words will never match who he truly was. For those of us who knew and loved him, Andrew was a good son of the Jamaican soil. Undisputedly, undeniably. And as I always say, who feels it knows. Andrew wasn't a criminal. He was not violent. He wasn't a thief or a troublemaker. He wasn't running from the police. In fact, the police had visited this shop before, the place he would be when roofing work was slow. And they questioned him about criminals in the community. They even asked him to identify who the criminals were. So let me ask Jamaica this. If they truly believed Andrew was one, why didn't they take him in? He wasn't on any wanted list. He wasn't hiding, that's for sure. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, he was not resisting them when they came into his house. Nothing about Andrew fit what they claimed. He opened his home innocently to men presented as law enforcement officers. He trusted what they claimed to represent, and that trust became his downfall. That trust cost him his life. His one and only child, the son he was working so hard to build a better life for, was in his first year of high school when his father was brutally taken away from him. Andrew was actively involved from conception right until his death in his son's life. And I want to ask Jamaica this. What do we expect to happen to children like his when extrajudicial killing is what removes their father? Even in his final moment, I can tell you, as he was left to bleed out on the floor of his home where his sweat, blood, and tear built, one of Andrew's concerns was the well-being of his son. In one pitney, in a nutshell, that was Andrew Lancelot Richards.
Auntie, why does it hurt the way it does? And why do you believe Jamaica needs to hear his story?
Because Andrew was innocent of the accusations. And because Andrew didn't die, he was murdered. Murdered by men who were supposed to serve and protect. Murdered by men he willingly gave access to his home. Men who held his girlfriend hostage. men who took his life while he was defenseless. And then they told a story we've heard hundreds of times before, a script repeated with extrajudicial killings, a story that didn't match the truth, the evidence, or the person. And Jamaica, without compassion, without evidence, without thought, believed the police. That's why Andrew's story matters. Because Andrew represents everyone the system has failed. Countless men killed without trial, families silenced by shame and fear, children robbed of fathers, a nation numb to brutality, corruption we pretend not to see, injustice we've allowed to grow. And Andrew matters because his blood, like innocent blood, cries out to God, not just for justice for him, but for the transformation of an entire nation.
So Andrew's story is the beginning, the doorway into understanding Jamaica's deeper problem.
Yes, Andrew's death is not an isolated tragedy. It is a symptom of a deeper illness in Jamaica. Leadership, policing, public thinking, colonial conditioning, spiritual blindness, and national acceptance of injustice. Before we talk about systems, we honor his humanity though. We say his name. We tell his truth. We restore his voice through us. Because every movement for justice begins with one story. And this story is Andrew Lancelot Richards.
Thank you, Auntie. We honor Andrew today and we begin this series in his honor. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what innocent blood really is and why Andrew's murder and so many others matter to God, to justice, and should to Jamaica. See you on the next one, Saturday, same time.